The skies above Earth changed color the day she came. A violet shimmer spread across the clouds, rippling like silk in a breeze. People looked up, confused. Some pointed, others ran. But one man stood still, watching from a quiet hill near the forest. His name was Rayan, a mechanic from a forgotten town where the stars always looked too far away. He wasn't special, just a man who liked silence, engines, and the feel of earth beneath his boots. But something about that violet light called to him. The ship that descended wasn't shaped like any craft humans had ever seen. It was elegant, long, smooth, glowing like it was made of liquid moonlight. It didn't roar or rumble. It simply hummed, like a soft lullaby. Then she stepped out. Tall, glowing faintly with blue-gold skin, she moved like wind through fire. Her eyes were two galaxies trapped in glass, deep, swirling, unknowable. Her hair, long and silver, danced with every movement she made. Around her the world seemed quieter, as if nature itself held its breath. Rain didn't run. He didn't hide. He didn't even flinch when she looked directly at him from across the meadow. He blinked. She walked toward him. "You are human," she said, her voice a melody wrapped in thunder. "Yeah," he replied, his voice low, cautious. You're not." She tilted her head slightly. "No, I am Empress Virilith of the Thalxari Dominion, and I should not be here." Rayan took a breath. The name didn't mean anything to him, but her presence, her sorrow, was loud. "Why are you then?" She looked up toward the stars. "Because I could not stop myself." They stood facing each other, silence thick between them. Finally, she whispered, "You are the one from the transmission, the one who sang." Rayan blinked. "Sang?" She nodded slowly. "Your voice reached our deep space probes, a song played by your kind. It touched me. Even across the galaxies. I felt it. Here." She placed a hand on her chest. Rayan stared. "That was just a song. I didn't think it mattered." "It did," she whispered, stepping closer. "It does. And now I'm breaking 100 laws just to speak to you." His heart beat faster. Her eyes softened. "I know this is sudden. I am not here to rule or threaten. I only want to understand, to feel, to know why your voice made me feel something I've never felt." Rain chuckled softly. "You traveled across space just to ask me about a song?" "No," she said gently. "I came because I couldn't stop dreaming of you." The wind picked up, swirling around them. Her hand reached out, trembling slightly. "Even if it destroys me, I want to know you." Rayan hesitated. His fingers brushed hers. A spark passed between them. Not electric, not painful. Something warmer. Deeper. And at that moment, Rayan knew. This wasn't just a meeting. This was the start of something dangerous, beautiful, and impossibly real. Rayan didn't sleep that night. He sat outside his cabin, wrapped in a thick coat, the stars above too bright to ignore. And she was still there. Empress Virilith, standing just a few steps away, arms folded behind her back as she looked up at her ship. It rested quietly in the clearing, humming softly like a living thing, pulsing with light. "You didn't leave," Rain said finally. "I couldn't," she replied without turning. "I don't want to." He looked at her, unsure of what to say. "You came all this way for music? A voice? Me?" She finally turned, her eyes catching the moonlight. "Your kind fascinates us. You feel so much, yet you endure. You love even when it hurts. You create beauty in a galaxy full of war. And you sing, Rain. You sing even when no one's listening." He laughed quietly. "We're a mess, if I'm honest." That's why I stayed, she said gently. She stepped toward him and her long cloak whispered over the grass. The warmth from her skin made the air shimmer. Rayan couldn't explain it, but her presence filled the night with something different, something hopeful. I don't know what you expect from me, he said, voice low. Nothing, she replied. But I want something. Rayan swallowed. What? She knelt beside him, slowly, like the weight of her title was heavier than gravity. I want a moment, just one. That is mine, not the Empire's, not the stars. Mine. Rayan watched. Her face, so strong, so regal, but now soft, almost fragile. He reached into his coat and pulled out a flask. It's just tea, he said with a half-smile. Human tradition. When things feel too big, we drink something warm and pretend everything's okay. She took it gently, her fingers brushing. His again. Pretending sounds nice. They shared the silence between sips. The steam from the flask curled around her face, catching in the starlight. Then, out of nowhere, she whispered, If they find me here, I'll be stripped of my throne, maybe worse. Then why risk it? Her answer was simple, because I never felt alive in that palace. But now, sitting here, I do. Rayan looked away, heart pounding. Virilith. She turned her gaze to him. You're not just here for a song, are you? She said nothing at first. Then, in a quiet voice that trembled like morning light on water, she answered, I see you. Rayan, I hear your silence. Your loneliness. You think you're just a mechanic, a man in a forgotten corner of Earth. But you carry a light I've never seen. Rayan shook his head. I'm nobody. To me, she said, voice firm now. You are the one thing I cannot forget, even if it destroys me. The wind moved through the trees. A shooting star sliced across the sky. And in the quiet of that strange night, Rayan did something bold. He reached out and touched her cheek. Her eyes widened. Her lips parted, but she didn't pull away. Their hands found each other again, fingers tangling. Two worlds, two fates, colliding softly. For the first time in her long life, Empress Virilith closed her eyes and leaned in. Just a little, and Rayan, the man with oil on his hands and stardust in his heart, leaned toward the woman who wasn't supposed to love. The sanctuary had changed. Where once the air had been still with waiting, now it shimmered softly with something new. The Eliari moved differently now, lighter in their steps, quicker to smile, their skin glowing brighter when they passed Rena and Toven. Even the trees swayed more gently, as if listening to quiet music between hearts. Rena stood before a tall mirror formed from crystal wind, brushing her hair with fingers slightly trembling. Viley appeared behind her, silent but smiling. I'm not used to someone watching me like that, Rena said softly. Viley stepped closer, her reflection calm and radiant. I'm not watching, I'm memorizing. Rena turned, heart fluttering. Why me? Because, Viley whispered, placing a warm hand over Rena's. You smile like sunrise. You speak like water. And when you look at me, I feel real again. Rena laughed quietly. You're good at this. I'm only honest, Viley said, brushing a strand of hair behind Rena's ear with slow care. We don't say what we don't mean. Rena leaned into the touch, her voice barely a breath. Then don't stop. At the same time, elsewhere in the sanctuary, Toven sat beside Zirian near a pool of light. The water reflected stars, even though it was day outside. Zirian passed Toven a small fruit, round and glowing. What is this? Toven asked, eyeing it warily. It only grows when someone cares, Zirian said. When two feelings meet in truth. Toven held it for a moment, then took a slow bite. Sweet, but not sugary. Cool, like it held a breeze inside. This is what you eat to show love? Zirian nodded. When we used to bond, we shared these. It was a promise. Not to stay forever, but to be true while it lasted. Tovin looked into the pool, seeing his own face beside Zirian's. I've never promised anything like that. Nor have I, Zirian said, but I want to try. With you. Silence passed, but it was the warm kind. The kind filled with unspoken yes. Later the four stood together once more, called by a new presence deep in the sanctuary. They were led to a vast chamber they'd never seen before, its walls alive with vines that pulsed like veins. At the center, a crystal flower bloomed, larger than a person, slowly unfolding. What is this place? Rena asked, holding Vayli's hand tightly. It's the chamber of beginning, Vayli said softly, where new generations are conceived, not through science, but through shared truth. Tovin stepped forward, feeling the pull of the chamber, like a heartbeat in his chest. You're saying, this is where it happens? Zirian approached him, placing a gentle hand over his heart. Only if your bond is real. Only if love guides it. Rena looked to Tovin. Are we ready for this? Tovin nodded slowly. Maybe not in the way we thought, but yeah, I think we are. The crystal flower opened fully, revealing two smaller chambers, each glowing softly, like waiting arms. Vayli and Zirian looked at each other, then turned to their chosen humans. You do not have to do anything, Vayli said gently. But if you step inside with us, you become part of us, forever. Rena swallowed. Her voice was steady, but her heart beat like thunder. I'm not afraid. Tovin smirked, a light in his eyes. Let's make some space history. They stepped forward, Rena with Vayli, Tovin with Zirian, and entered the glowing chambers. Inside there were no machines, no tests, just warmth. A quiet hum of shared breath, of hearts sinking. The air shimmered with memory and desire, with unspoken promises. Vayli kissed Rena slowly, like rain touching dry earth. Rena kissed back, arms around her, skin tingling from every contact. The connection wasn't just physical, it was soul deep. Their bodies moved like echoes of emotion, responding to each other with tenderness and hunger alike. In the next chamber, Zirian pressed his forehead to Tovin's. May I? He whispered. Tovin didn't answer with words. He cupped Zirian's face, pulled him close, and kissed him, fiercely, honestly. Their bodies met in trust, moving together in rhythm born of pure feeling. It wasn't about reproduction. It was about union, about sharing something neither had known how to describe until now. Outside, the vines pulsed brighter. The chamber sang with soft harmony. The sanctuary glowed as if stars had bloomed inside its walls. 2 humans, 2 aliens, and the start of something sacred. Not an experiment, not a duty, but the beginning of a new kind of love, a new generation, born not only from need but from the courage to connect. 3 days passed. Rayan walked through his cabin like a ghost, hearing echoes where silence lived. He fixed small things, tightened bolts, cleaned parts that didn't need cleaning, but nothing filled the space she'd left behind. Every time the wind blew through the trees, he turned, hoping, foolishly, that she had returned. But she hadn't. At night, he sat on the porch with the flask they'd shared, now filled with cold tea. The stars above felt further away than ever. Then, just after midnight on the 4th day, a crackle burst from the old radio in his garage. He rushed inside, heart hammering. "Rayan!" The voice came through in static. "Rayan, can you hear?" "Me, Virilith." He grabbed the mic, desperate. "I hear you. Are you safe?" A pause. Then, "No." The word struck him like a blade. I barely escaped, she continued, her voice weak. They tried to erase me, my memories, but I fought. I held on to them, onto you. His breath caught. Where are you? Hidden. My ship is damaged. They're hunting me like prey, and I can't return to my world. You need help, he said. I can come. No! Her voice sharpened. Rayan, they'll kill you if you try. You can't survive in space. But there's one way. He listened, every muscle tight. There's an ancient core hidden beneath Earth's surface, she said. A relic. It was buried long ago by one of our exiles. If we connect to it, I can use its power to sever myself from the Empire completely. What? Does that mean? I would no longer be Empress. I would be hunted, nameless, free. Rayan paused, stunned. You'd give up your throne for me? No, she said softly. For us. He closed his eyes, heart aching. Tell me what to do. She gave him coordinates, deep in the old forest, a cave, forgotten by time. Rayan didn't hesitate. He packed supplies, took a torch, and left before dawn. The journey wasn't easy. Roots clawed at his boots, rain fell hard, the ground tried to swallow him. But he kept going, because love pushed him forward. When he found the cave, it was exactly where she said. Covered in moss and vines, hidden like a secret. Inside, the air was cool, humming faintly with unseen energy. At the heart of the cave, a stone platform pulsed with violet light. Rayan touched it, and a spark shot through him. Warm, electric, ancient. A moment later she appeared, not in person, but as a projection. Flickering, translucent, beautiful. You found it, she whispered, eyes soft. Now what? You must activate it. Your touch, your choice. If you bond with it, I'll be able to reach you. And then I fall, she said. Everything I've ever known ends. Rayan stepped closer. Are you sure? Virilith looked at him, her image trembling. Even if it destroys me, I want you. He placed both hands on the glowing platform. It responded immediately. Blinding light surged through the cave. Symbols rose from the ground, ancient language dancing in the air. The walls shook. A deep hum vibrated through his bones. Virilith's voice echoed in his mind. I'm coming to you, Rayan. I'm done running. Then the light exploded outward, and the cave went still. Rayan dropped to his knees, breathing hard. Outside, the wind carried a new scent, and above the trees, a new star was falling. The star streaked across the sky like a promise. Rayan stood at the mouth of the cave, watching the fireball descend. His heart pounded, fists clenched, every breath heavy with hope and fear. It wasn't a comet. It wasn't debris. It was her. She'd chosen him. The ground trembled as the ship landed in the clearing just beyond the ridge. Trees swayed. Leaves danced through the air. Steam hissed from the metal plates of the strange, curved vessel as it opened, flower-like, to reveal the figure within. Virilith stepped out slowly. She no longer wore her crown. The silver crest once wrapped around her head was gone. Her armor was scorched, cracked. Her royal sigil had vanished. But her eyes, those fierce, glowing eyes, found Rayan instantly. She had lost everything, and yet she smiled. Rayan ran to her without thinking. When he reached her, he didn't speak. Neither did she. Their arms wrapped around each other, tight, unshaken, desperate. Their bodies met with the kind of hunger that only comes after choosing love over a lifetime of duty. I didn't think I'd make it, she whispered into his neck. You did, he said. You always do. She pulled back just enough to look into his face. I am no longer Empress. I am nothing to the stars. To the stars, maybe, Rayan said. He cupped her face, gently brushing a lock of silken hair behind her ear. but to me you're everything." She kissed him then, not with royal grace or alien restraint, but like a woman who had found home after wandering the cosmos too long. Her fingers tangled in his hair. Her lips burned with truth. Her breath trembled as their foreheads pressed together. "I am yours now," she said. "No more warships. No more thrones. Just us." Rayan smiled. "Good, because I built a second chair on the porch. It was waiting for you." She laughed, a soft, musical sound that made his chest ache with joy. "Will you sit with me every night?" "Every night," he promised. "Until we're stars ourselves." They stayed like that, wrapped in each other's arms, while the ship behind her faded into silence. A new chapter began, not written by fate or royal command, but by two souls who had chosen love over power. That evening, they returned to the cabin. Virilith touched every little thing, curious, delighted. She marveled at the way the floor creaked under her bare feet, at the warmth of the fire he built, at the scent of pine and cinnamon in the air. She ran her fingers across the walls he had carved with old stories. She sat on the porch chair, finally, and said softly, "I feel alive." Rayan sat beside her. "That's what this place does." She looked up at the stars that once ruled her. "They feel smaller now." He slipped his hand into hers. "That's because we're not looking up anymore. We're looking forward." And in the quiet night, as the world turned slowly around them, a former empress and a simple human sat side by side, not as ruler and subject, but as two hearts that had found one another across the galaxy. The stars didn't shine brighter. That night, they simply understood, because somewhere deep in the universe, love had done the impossible, and nothing would ever be the same again.